Witta for telling my grandpa to stop spanking me on my birthday. I 16F just turned 16 2 weeks ago, my grandpa 65M, and I have always been extremely close since I was younger. He has to other grandchildren 28F and 31M, but they are not that close with him because I am his only blood grandchild. They were still raised by him, but he still secretly favors me a lot more just because he is really close to my mom, his blood daughter. 3 years ago, him and his wife both moved to Las Vegas because the weather was too cold for them. Ever since they moved, visits have been a little slow since they've been understandably settling in. Since my grandpa was not in town for the week of my birthday, he called me on the day of over the phone. He playfully told me he would be giving me birthday licks, as to which I told him no. Basically, birthday licks are something he used to give me when I was younger. He would take me and bend me over his knee, then slap me on the behind. As old as I had turned, so if I was 8, he would slap me on the behind 8 times. I think he stopped doing this when I turned 10, but he would joke about it, mention it every year. He didn't physically do it when I was younger. It never really bothered me because I trusted my grandpa. But I also wasn't aware of things that aren't considered normal outside of my family. After asking my friends, I don't think this is common. Either way, my grandpa is a very sweet guy who is also very smart. I did not expect him to continue on with birthday licks this year. I thought it was known that I'm too old now. He stopped doing them to his other grandchildren earlier in their lives, but then again, he does a lot of stuff for me that he stopped doing for them a long time ago. So when he flew into town for a wedding a couple of days ago, he came over my house. When he came upstairs, the first thing he did was grab me and turn me around, telling his wife to get me quickly. She replied, telling him to playfully stop. He held me to where I could not move my arms or fight, and then he started slapping my behind repeatedly. I was really just shocked and told him to stop after he finished. This was all a very quick series of events, by the way. However, I feel really uncomfortable when I am around him now, and I just cannot help that. I know he didn't mean it in a weird way, but I still felt weird about it. My mom didn't say anything, and I know if I said something to my mom, she would get mad and say I'm accusing her dad of being weird. In the past, my mom has taken the side of the other person and told me to get over things like this when they've happened. Trust me, they happen a lot too. I know he isn't a weirdo, and I love my grandpa more than anybody. I speak about him so highly, which is why I was so taken aback that he got me, even though I had previously told him no. I don't intend to stop being close with him, but I would like to establish that he cannot do this anymore. I am just afraid of causing an outbreak of drama. I think I would hurt my grandpa's feelings a little, but I also think he would understand. I am just afraid of causing unnecessary drama. If I am in the wrong, please let me know before he goes out of town. WIBTA for telling him not to do this anymore. Stories number 2. Witta if I don't have to father-daughter dances at my wedding. I have 30 to am getting married in about a month. My family history is complicated, but I'll try to sum it up. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old. My dad remarried when I was about 5. And my mom remarried when I was 11. Both of my stepparents have been in my life since I was about 3 years old, though I love both sets of my parents, but I have very different relationships with them. When my dadgy married my stepmom, I was happy. She took my brothers and I in with open arms. And she has always told us she is not there to replace our mother. She respects that line. I've never had any issue with loving her despite her flaws. She does have some. She is human after all. My mom started dating R when I was almost 4. I didn't understand why she liked him, but when he visited, he bought us pizza, so I tolerated him. Maybe I was more protective of my relationship with my mother because she had me 90% of the time. My dad worked on the road, so I only saw him maybe once a month and on holidays, but I was a daddy's girl. Anyway, I sort of acted like a dad. He bought me my first bike with training wheels, my first playground set, and my first car. He's always come to all my concerts through my school years, and I know he would be there for me if I needed him. However, he's not the kindest man I distinctly remember being. Upset that he had bought me training wheels because I knew he would swear and yell while he was putting them on my bike, which he did. He has a temper. He's never hit me or my mother that I know of, but the way he raised his voice over the stupidest little things never sat right with me. When Mom married him, I hated the idea. During the rehearsal, the pastor asked me if I was okay with the marriage. It was part of the service. Since I was a child from a past marriage, I said no. My mom cried. The pastor told me that I needed to just say yes so my mom could be happy. I didn't think she would be happy with him. Over the years I spent living with I never called him dad or even stepdad unless I was telling someone who he was to me. I learned to lie about things so it wouldn't upset him. Mom would hide new furniture until he was out of the house and then pretend it was always there when he got back. If my mom and I went shopping for fun, or would get mad that we spent money on stupid things. Regardless of his behavior, my mom stuck to her decision and stayed with him. And I learned to love the man who was sometimes good. He's mellowed out over the years and is less prone to anger. I talk to him about the birds at the bird feeder or the weather because I know if I speak to him about anything serious, he gets mad that he can't fix it for me, and he raises his voice at Mom as if she's the reason he can't fix it. My parents, Mom and Dad, did not have an amicable divorce, and even 30 years later they can't get along, and even when they're forced to at least be civil, it's a tense atmosphere. Needless to say, I wasn't sure how the wedding would go, and just as I expected, I'm getting pushed back from my mom. My dad is walking me down the aisle, and my dad is getting a father-daughter dance as he should, although he worked on the road and I didn't see him as often as I would have liked. He was still a wonderful dad. He was there for me whenever I needed him, and I knew he would always be there. He couldn't make it to all my concerts because he worked on the road, but I didn't mind. He taught me how to start a fire, how to set up a tent. He was there for me in other ways than and my mom knows that, but sometimes I think she lets her hatred of my dad get in the way. I told my mom that my dad would be getting the honors of the walk and the dance, and for the walk she wasn't upset. Then she got upset about the dance. She asked me if I was going to have another dance about stepdads, and I said no, I'm allowing song requests. So then she twisted it and said, well, I want to request a song, and it's that song about stepdads from that country singer. I knew which one she was talking about, and I said no, I know what you're trying to do, Mom, and I'm not going to allow it. She launched into the guilt trip. He's done so much for you, he deserves recognition. All that. I told her yes, he does, but I know for a fact that Dad will be hurt if I make him share the honors he's been waiting to have all my life. I'm the youngest and the only girl out of 3. I'm planning on writing letters to both my step-parents and handing them to them after the ceremony or something like that. I want to honor them both, but I don't want to take away from my dad's honored moments either. I do not like the idea of dancing with It gives me bad gut feelings. I can barely hug the man without feeling gross about it, because Mom always had to make me hug him when I was a kid. I do love him, but in a sort of keep him at arm's length sort of way. Maybe that's selfish of me. I keep going back and forth. I've already told my mom no to having to dances, but I'm feeling guilty for it. What should I do? And would I be the asshole if I kept my boundary? Stories number 3. My F29 husband to 5 says he is going to disappear. What would you do? Hey guys, so this is going to be a hard post for me, but maybe I can get some helpful advice. My husband has been saying for the past few days that he's planning on leaving when the time is right, taking his belongings and changing his number. I've asked him multiple times if he's being serious, and he says he is and swore on God and our child. I feel really lost because I asked, what about our daughter? If you want to leave me, that's okay, but don't you want to see her? And he said that he doesn't want her in his life either. His family is living with us right now, his dad, mom, and little sister, and money is pretty tight. I've asked him if he's that serious, can't we just get a divorce, and he said he doesn't want to and would rather just leave us all without the hassle of divorce. I'm really lost here, and I suggested that he speak to his therapist about what he's feeling, but he said they're just gonna encourage him to Leave we do have a very rocky marriage. We basically have no physical affection and things can feel very tense between us, so if he wants a divorce, that's okay, but I'm just worried about our daughter more than anything. If you have any advice, please let me know. Sorry for the formatting, BTW. I'm posting this from my car before I go to work. Stories number 4. Should I have given out an employee's information? This is an old dilemma that has bothered me for years. I'll keep the details vague and use made up names. There's mention of an adult dating a minor, obviously wrong, but the dilemma is about the correct response to it. I was managing a restaurant in a U.S. town with a large and influential boarding school. The school catered to children from low-income families. Adding this so you understand, these weren't kids with silver spoons. We often hired students in their last years to give them work experience. One such student was a 16-year-old girl whom I'll call Anne. She was hired as a front-of-house employee, greeter, server, etc., and was a typical teenager and an average first-job employee. The other main character was a cook who we'll call John. He was around 26, living with his mom after breaking up with his baby mama. John and became friendly, often hanging out during breaks and chatting at work. It was noticeable but didn't raise any red flags beyond the occasional reminder to focus on work. One afternoon, as I was taking over the shift, I got a call from a woman at Anne's boarding school. She asked when Anne's meeting would be done since and wasn't on the schedule. I confirmed with the outgoing manager that she had worked lunch but had gone home. I relayed this to the school official, who informed me that Anne had claimed there was a full staff meeting. We rarely had staff meetings like that, only twice in the 8 years I'd worked there. She hung up to make some calls, and soon after she and the school's security arrived in person. I confirmed and wasn't there and hadn't been since lunch. The security officer parked in our lot to wait. A nosy cook overheard the situation and told me that Anne was likely with John. It was then I learned that John and Anne were dating and that most of the kitchen staff already knew. Concerned, I tried reaching John, but he didn't answer. I had another cook text him saying that if he was with Anne, she needed to come back immediately. I called my district manager DM to ask if I could share John's information with the school, hoping it would help find Anne faster. I was told under no circumstances except by court order could I give out employee information. I argued that we needed to protect Anne since she was a minor. The DM insisted that as long as it wasn't happening on company property, we weren't involved. Eventually, Anne showed up pulling on her work shirt and asking me to lie to the school. I refused, explaining they were already looking for her. Security met her when she left the building and later confessed to the school, was sent home out of state, and for a couple of weeks her mother regularly called me asking for John's information. John in turn tried to get on Anne's emergency contact info after her social media and phone were disconnected. I apologized repeatedly to Anne's mom, refusing to provide any details, and was much less kind to John. Eventually, Anne returned to the school, but not the restaurant, and John was forbidden from contacting her. He quit shortly after. The dilemma that's haunted me ever since is whether I should have shared John's information with the school, risking a lawsuit. And my job, it might have helped them find her faster, but only if they were at his house. Or did I do the right thing by staying silent? Many of the jobs I have worked have required me to be a mandated reporter, though I was not one at this time. I think that is what makes this even harder to form a solid answer. Thoughts. Stories number 5. My best friend accidentally sent me the wrong message. For context, 1 to 5F have known my best friend to 5F for literally 20 years. We have basically been sisters the entire time, and are pretty much trauma bonded. We tell each other everything, even the gross stuff. We've never had a fight or disagreement about anything before, but I have gotten my feelings hurt a few times in the past few years from passive comments that she's made, and if just let it go. We do see each other less because that's life, and we have other responsibilities. Even if we don't talk as much, we send TikToks back and forth to each other, so I wasn't surprised when I got one this morning. I Opened it, and it was that video captioned when your best friend sits down and her sit-down air smells bad or something along the lines of she added a message that said, "This is how I feel about my name sometimes, lol." I immediately got upset and texted a few friends that I knew would be honest with me the same way I would have expected her to be honest with me. And they comforted me with no hesitation and reassured me that they have never ever smelled anything on me like that. And that if they did, they know we're all girls and would have no problem letting me know. I got the message a few hours ago and am not sure how to respond. I don't even know if she's realized she sent it to the wrong person. All of my friends that have told about it have told me to confront her about it and shut the relationship down, but I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. Obviously, my feelings are hurt, but is it worth throwing away a 20-year friendship over? Stories number 6. Dad got a loan for $25,000 in my name and now can't make the payments anymore. I had no idea he did it, and he's missed several payments. I'm about to buy a house. I'm mad, confused, and scared. My dad called me on Friday, which was weird, because we really only talk around Christmas due to his domestic violence issues. When I was a child, he told me last year he took out a $25,000 loan in my name. He said he needed it to pay off his credit cards, but he's ran them back up again. He said he wanted to at least give me a heads up, as I was probably going to be sued by the loan company because he can no longer make the payments. He never apologized for taking the loan out in my name, and he told me to say that I was hacked. I felt sick to my stomach when I checked my credit. I saw my credit score tanked by probably 150 points from where it was last July 5th. Missed payments alone that I owe about $24,000 on, and I just broke down crying. This has never happened to me before. My mom and sister are both out of the country until the start of next week, and I'm lost. I can pay off the loan in cash, but I don't feel like I should have to, as I never took it out. Stories number 28. Aita for telling my sister I told you so after she announced to the family her husband divorcing her. So I to 1F have a sister named Lisa 27F. My sister has in my eyes an unhealthy obsession to make every in her house fit her aesthetic, so no colorful colors except different shades of brown and gray and white. She throws away anything that does not fit into her aesthetic, including her daughter Maya 2F toys and husband Mark 29 meters clothes. I've told my sister several times she needs to stop this before she does something to push Mark over the edge. She told me to shut up because she knows her man so well. Lisa has a history of throwing away gifts, gift bag included, if it's not in her style. What pushed Mark to finally stand up and leave Lisa was when his elderly mother, whose hobby is knitting, gifted both Mark and Maya colorful sweaters she knitted herself that took a long time to make. Lisa did not like this, so behind Mark back she threw them away. When Mark learned about this, he told her he was done and demanded a divorce. Lisa called my parents to tell them the news, and I said I told you so on the call. She cussed me out, then hanged up. My mom said I could be more sympathetic, and my dad agreed with her. So Reddit Aita edit. Okay, let me address a few things here since there are too many comments. My parents aren't bad people. They don't play favorite, and they don't like Lisa's aesthetic lifestyle. They only lending a shoulder to cry on because she's getting a divorce and Mark kicked her out. Lisa is now living here since Mark has now kicked her out. Lisa's behavior started when she joined college. When we ask her to seek therapy or help because of her behavior, she screams she's not mental and calls us stupid. Gives us the cold shoulder. She only allows grays, browns, a select shades of white and black. Edit 2. For those asking, no, Lisa can't get the sweaters back. She threw them into a random dumpster, and when she went back for them, they were already gone. And no, I don't think Mark's mom can make another one. It took her over a year to knit 2 of them. She's already in her late 60s, has arthritis, and used expensive yarn. Will update if something happens. So yeah, I'm back. I didn't expect to be back so soon. Long story short, my sister got arrested for attacking her STTX husband Mark and his mother after getting served with divorce papers. After Lisa was served with divorce papers at her workplace on Friday, Lisa started drinking and crying a lot, and spent the entire weekend drinking and crying and repeating calling Mark. Last night she took an Uber to Mark's home and begged him to reconsider the divorce. This is the story I got from Mark. He said no, then she started insulting him and hitting him. Then when his mom tried to push her away from Mark, my sister attacked Mark's mom. Mark called the police, and now my sister arrested with a $6,000 bail that none of us are paying. Mark got bite and scratch marks, and his mom has a black eye. Will update when more details come out. Stories number 7. Aita for not forgiving the woman who falsely accused me of SA 10 years ago. I 25 am no contact with my family and old friends 10 years ago when I was in high school. A girl who was my classmate accused me of SA her. Everyone believed her without any proof because that's what happens in today's society. I was suspended immediately, and my friend cut all contact with me. This always happens to guys who are accused of SA, and no one ever listens to their side of story. My parents tried to murder me because of it, and when they failed in that, they threw me out of the house. Because of it, the court found me guilty even though there was no proof. I spent many years in a correction facility. No one from my past life ever contacted. I completed my education there. Everyone there told me how smart and good I am. I am kind of tech genius. I was released few years ago and started working in a small tech company. The owner was a man in his 50s who's also a single father of 2 very smart and capable men and a very pretty girl, 19F. When I told him my story, he supported me and adopted me as his 4th child. I worked very hard and helped his company grow. Now he's retiring and want me to become the CEO of the company, as both of his sons have their own interests and businesses. I also started dating his daughter, who's a great woman and loves me more than anything. We are engaged and plan to marry soon because she wants to be a mother. She's very loving and nurturing. It has always been her dream to be a stay-at-home mother. But here's the issue. Few days ago, a man started working in our company. He's very capable and smart, but he's also shy and introverted. Few weeks ago, his wife visited him in office and started screaming at him because he doesn't want to pay her student loan debt. When I went outside to see what's happening, I was horrified. His wife is same woman who accused me of SA all those years ago. When she left, I called my employee in my cabin and told him everything about her past. He immediately believed me and wants to divorce her now. Turns out he's only with her because she baby-trapped him. He actually never wanted to get married and have children. She made him do all of it, and now he's scared to divorce her because court will give his everything to his wife, and he has to pay a lot of child support for her child. I told him that as hard-working, smart man, he didn't deserve to live like this. One of my future brother-in-law is a great lawyer who could help him get out of this situation. Everything was going well until the day my employee told his wife that he wanted divorce. Now she has gone crazy. She's in a lot of debt because of her useless college degree and business adventurous that all failed because she's stupid. She has somehow found out about me and is stalking me now. She thinks I'm making her husband divorce her. She threatened to accuse me of SA her again, and I was not afraid this time. Then she tried to seduce me and told me she'd sleep with me if I gave her money and convince her husband to not divorce her. I'm a loyal man and love my fiancé, so I refused that. That woman is also an old ugly hag now, but I played her game and told her I would save her marriage if she confessed that she accused me falsely. She did that, and now everyone from my past is begging me to forgive them. My sister also begged me to forgive her and support her daughters financially because their father isn't in their life. I can't believe this is happening to me. My phone is blowing up because everyone from my past want me to forgive them and be friends with them. Because I'm rich and successful now, that woman is still contacting me, but I have filed for a restraining order against her. She also wants my forgiveness because she's suffering the consequences of her actions. Now everyone has cut her off from their life, and now she's doing OnlyFans to make money, which isn't successful because she's not young and pretty anymore. But here's the thing, a female co-worker told me that I was a bad guy for not forgiving that woman, so now I'm confused. Please Reddit tell me if Aita for not forgiving that woman. Edit. Thanks for all your support, guys. I'm no longer conflicted. I know I'm not the asshole here. The past couple of months have been rough and filled with ups and downs. Amidst all this drama, we find out my girlfriend is pregnant and we are having twins. I'm so happy and can't wait to be a great father for my future sons. I'm going to close this chapter of my life for forever and move on. Thanks again, Edit. Figured out one thing about shitpost: you have to make it as absurd as possible, and you have to do it in the first couple of sentences, otherwise people would assume that it's a genuine Aita post. Stories number 8. Aita for not wanting to repair my relationship with my sister-in-law after she called me a murderer. I'm 22F and my sister-in-law just to 1F name change for privacy, and I don't get along. Here is why. A little over a year ago, I moved back to my hometown, and in with my boyfriend Bob, who lived with his brother Jess and their child. Since Jess was my only friend at the time, we became close. Everything was fine until I found out I was pregnant. Jess was initially supportive, but when my doctor recommended an abortion due to health concerns, Jess' attitude changed drastically. She went on several Facebook rants calling me and saying that God would make everything okay if I just kept the baby. I hadn't shared my situation widely, but Jess made it public, posting about it online and telling Bob's family and friends. I started receiving nasty messages from her family begging me not to go through with it. Her mom even offered to adopt the baby. Despite the pressure, I followed my doctor's advice and had the abortion. The atmosphere in the house became unbearable, so Bob and I moved out shortly after. Since then, Jess has been openly hostile. She constantly talks behind my back, calling me a dirty whore due to my past as a stripper and adult performer. After Bob and I married in February, she even asked him if he really wanted to be with someone like me. We ended up blocking her on all social media and phone numbers. Jess claims I ruined her relationship with Bob, but other family members say they were never that close. She also accuses me of taking Bob away from his family, though we see his family at least 3 times a week. Since we blocked her, Jess has used free texting apps to contact Bob, sending late-night messages like "you up," despite being married herself. Recently, I found out I'm pregnant again, this time with a healthy pregnancy, and am now 9 months along. Jess has been trying to reconnect, saying she wants to start over, but I don't trust her, especially since she's still talking behind my back and even asked Bob if he'd get a paternity test. Bob has supported me throughout, repeatedly telling Jess to stop despite blocking her. She keeps finding ways to contact us. So Aita for refusing to rebuild a relationship with her after everything she's done. Edit. I had the abortion about 2 years ago, and she still brings it up to this day. Stories number 31. Mother-in-law lied about my future savings. I live with my boyfriend at his parents' home. His parents charge me rent every month, and they told me that the rent I pay will be put away for my future. They said that this money will be kept aside for me to purchase a home or get an education. I've been living with them for 3 years and thought I had a substantial amount of money set aside. A few weeks ago, his mother told me that this money is no longer aside for me. She said that this money will be used for food instead. However, this caught me off guard because she is well off and can afford to go on multiple trips a year, go out every single weekend, and is planning a long trip to Europe. I feel like I was lied for the past 3 years. I thought that I was saving for a down payment on a home, just to find out that I instead have nothing aside for the future. I am hurt and upset. What would you do in my situation? Short version, mother-in-law said that rent I pay her will be put aside for my future 3 years. After she changed her mind, I am currently in a tight financial situation and have nothing saved for the future. Edit 1. My boyfriend thinks that it is not a big deal. He says that his mom had been a liar and manipulative his whole life, so there is nothing he can do about it now because she won't change. Therefore, he and I just have to accept her behavior. However, this makes me upset because it seems like he is not ready to stand up for me when needed, and it feels as if he doesn't value my feelings enough. Anyways, we came to the conclusion that we should have a talk with his mother next week when we see her to explain how I feel. Edit 2. I am a student, and if I knew that this money was not going towards my future, I would have made different choices. I would have chose to move back to Italy with my family where I wouldn't have had to pay rent and school is free. Or I would have stayed in Canada, but instead of going to school, I would have worked full-time and saved up as much as possible. As a student, I am working part-time and everything I earn goes towards rent. Edit 3. More than once his mom said, "You should be grateful that I let your girlfriend live here," but she is the one that offered me to move in their home to begin with. This type of comment made me feel very unwelcome. Edit 4. On top of paying rent, I often cook for the whole family and help clean the house. I also look after their kids when they leave for vacations or weekends. Edit 5. Looking back, I was treated unfairly on multiple occasions. I feel used, and I am looking forward to moving out. Stories number 9. My GF is nearly perfect, but she's too dumb to be with. I'm not talking bad at math or doesn't understand what I do for work. It's not about wanting somebody to be a genius or even intelligent. I simply don't trust that she properly closes the front door when she leaves just because you have to pull it further than you'd expect. I don't know if she properly turn off the gas stove after she figures out how that works. This makes it sound like she's an actual idiot, but that's not even the case. While these are true scenarios, she manages to live life. She's just very simple, as we would say it. It also just simple things like never understanding that is going on in a movie. Sometimes there's a joke or a reveal that has more than one layer, like it's funny because they are, and she will think it's funny but will not fall for the surface level joke and actually won't understand the added layer. I know I have to adjust my way of speaking when I'm with her. I already know to not use big words, and often I change mid-sentence to make the story easier to understand, sometimes changing the idea behind or depth of the story so she understands. She's truly the most amazing, sweetest, beautiful, whatever girl. She makes my heart melt whenever we're together. I love it when we're together. She's so sweet, you'd think she's made of cotton candy. But I really don't know if I can handle how dumb she is. I already feel shit for even writing this because she truly deserves the world. Edit. I want to clarify something. It's not that she has undiagnosed ADHD. She herself also doesn't believe she has ADHD. It could be true because her attention span is short, but that's also not really the problem. What I mean with dumb is also that she listens, but she doesn't listen. She hears what I say, she can even repeat it and even remember it, but she doesn't always process what I'm actually saying or what something is about. She doesn't understand things. Some things are just a little too surface level. Again, she's absolutely amazing and makes my world, but this genuinely affects me. Stories number 10. Lying guest. My Airbnb is about 2 hours away from me. I manage it remotely, and I put in my listing I live far and won't be able to assist in person with check-in. I think a guest decided to take advantage of that. My check-in hours are 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. so I can be awake too. Make sure they got an okay standard check-in with a code on the door. Guest checks in at 1 a.m. texted me one time on Airbnb saying they couldn't access the unit, and they are getting a hotel. They have a 3-day stay, no call or anything. I wake up in the morning and immediately start driving down there to see what's up. I arrive at the unit to find the guest has their items inside. Airbnb ended up refunding the guest and didn't charge me anything, but I don't have a camera against my hoe, but my lock showed that it was locked from inside the night before. I just think it's such a bizarre, obvious lie. The only justification I can see is if she thought I was too far to come See, she was actually inside. This happened about a month ago and I still got the payout for it. Stories number 11. My girlfriend hates that I have only dated Asian women before I got together with her. I need advice. My 31 girlfriend 29 hates that I have only dated Asian women before I got together with her. Sorry for the length, but I feel like I need to include the details. I love my girlfriend and we've been together for almost 2 years. I used to think she could be my wife, but now I'm not so sure anymore. So, a short backstory. I grew up with a best friend from South Korea and we did almost everything together. I never questioned why I like what I like, but yes, I tend to lean toward Asian culture, movies, music, etc. more than my own. I'm white. Before I met my girlfriend, I had 2 serious relationships, both with Asian women. My ex from college and I dated for 5 years, but we broke up because she always wanted to move back to South Korea and wanted me to come with her. I couldn't leave my family and friends, plus I had a stable job here. I don't regret staying. I started dating my current girlfriend at the end of 2022 after being single for a while. We just clicked. I met her at my friend's birthday party. The first year was amazing, perfect, even I'd never felt so good with someone before. All the green flags were there and I thought she could be my wife. We talked about past relationships and she knew I had only dated Asian women before her, but over time she started making jokes and small comments. She'd ask why I still almost always listen to Korean music, implying it's because of my ex. I'd tell her it's just what I like, and that Western music doesn't do much for me. This went on and on. I also like anime. In the beginning, she thought it was funny and cute. I tried explaining why I enjoy it, and she'd say something like, "It's not for me, but I'm glad you like it." Then it escalated. She'd say things like, "You must hate me because I don't like cartoons like your ex." She'd try to be playful, but I let it go because it didn't really bother me at first. But there was this underlying issue with me and my past. I let it go because I loved her and she still has so many great qualities. Then came D-Day. We often watch Netflix and have our own profiles. About 2 months ago, I got home from work on a Friday wanting to relax and watch something. She agreed and started scrolling on my profile, which is a lot of anime and K-dramas. She made joke after joke about what I was watching and I just smiled, saying, "You're missing out on so much." Then she said, "Okay, let's watch one of your shows," and I was stunned. I'd been trying to get her to watch K-dramas for years since I knew anime wasn't her thing. I was so happy she finally gave it a chance, and I knew the perfect one for you nerds out there. You've probably seen Queen of Tears, such a great show. She sat through the entire first episode and started asking me about the actresses almost like she planned it. She asked if I thought one of the women was good looking. This wasn't the first time she'd asked something like this, and every time it's always about an Asian woman. I usually respond with something like, "She's cute" or "not my type, one love you," and we move on. But this time I was tired and happy she was watching one of my shows, so I just said, "Yeah, she's gorgeous." I knew the moment I said it was going to cause issues, but I was just tired of the BS. Also, it's Kim Ji-won. The rest of the episode, she kept asking why I thought that this led to an argument with me finally saying, "Why are you so insecure about Asian women?" I knew it was because of my past relationships, but I wanted her to admit it. She said she wasn't insecure and that it was laughable to compare her to them, implying she was more beautiful. I probably meanly asked if she thought she weren't attractive, and she shrugged, saying she's cute but not beautiful. I laughed, thinking it was crazy, and she got mad, asking why I reacted that way. I told her she must be delusional to think that I know beauty is subjective, but this whole argument felt silly. Anyway, she got super pissed and left. This happened 2 months ago, and we're still arguing about the same fight. It's getting worse with her trying to get me to admit that Korean women aren't as beautiful as American women. I really don't know what to say to her. What's making her angriest is that I won't tell her something I don't Believe is true. I think my girlfriend is beautiful and I tell her that every day. But does that mean I have to think other women are ugly? Yesterday she told me it's obvious I would prefer a Korean woman over her, which is not true at all. I've told her 100 times that it's not the case, but she still won't believe me. Even after all our conversations, she keeps going back to passive aggressive comments about Asians, especially South Koreans. It's frustrating because no matter how many times I reassure her, it feels like nothing changes. Honestly, I don't know what to do. We fight almost every day about this, and it's becoming more bizarre and silly. I can't talk to my friends because I don't want them to judge her. My best friend from childhood would be so mad if I told him that's why I'm here, hoping for help. Or if someone has gone through something similar, I also want to say that my girlfriend is wonderful in every other aspect. But this is something she just can't seem to let go of. Update: I don't understand what's wrong with some people. I never said I prefer watching TV over spending time with my girlfriend. In fact, 95% of the time we're together, we watch her shows or do other activities. My girlfriend hasn't explicitly said she has a problem with me watching anime or K-dramas. She's just been making hints and jokes about it. I don't have a preference for Asian women over anyone else. I grew up around Asians, and most of my friends were Asian, but I don't have a specific type. I dated the girls that were around me, and that happened to be Asians. I have had other short-term relationships with non-Asians. Lastly, I did move with my ex because I didn't see a future with her and didn't want to leave my home. I do see a future with my current girlfriend, and I love her more than anything. We share the same family values and want the same things out of life. She makes me laugh. I trust her completely, and she is my best friend. So to all the bots and people who seem to have no understanding of real relationships, stop telling me to break up because of this. Stories number 12. So unbelievably New York. Why did I think it would be any different? I'll keep it short. Found a brand new iPhone laying on the ground at night. Walking home, I pick it up. Google what to do when this happens. It says look for the medical ID option and find the family's details. I do this. See that he's got his mother's, sister's, and dad's numbers in there. I call the sister because I don't want to wake his parents up. She thinks it's a scam for a bit, but that's okay. Then his dad calls me. Sarah tells me the lost phone guy's name is John. We arrange that I'll take the phone home and his dad will pick it up in the morning. I'm feeling good, like I'm doing something really nice for him. Then John calls. Wow, what an asshole. He's getting pissy, saying it's inconvenient that I've got his phone, because it would have been easier if I'd just left it where it was. I had half a mind to throw the damn thing in a gutter. It annoyed me just at how stupid this is. Someone's got your possession and you're being rude to them. So being a good person, I actually say I'll wait up for this guy to send an Uber. He is being so damn short with me and so unappreciative. This is what I hate about New Yorkers. They're too damn stupid to even save their own skin. I think I'm the one person who would actually still help this guy get his phone back. Never again, BTW. So I give the driver the phone, block him, but before I do, I sent his family, mother, sister, and father, who said he was a cop, a small message telling them how I feel about their son. Not exactly getting even, but it's something. Stories number 13. Widda for not inviting my dad and stepmom to my future wedding. I apologize in advance. This will be kind of long. I 21F and my BF 24 meters, having been talking about marriage in the future. We have been dating for 8 months but have known each other since high school. Recently we were sitting and talking at a family gathering, and someone I don't remember who asked us when we were getting married. We kind of laughed it off and said eventually, and they asked about what kind of wedding we wanted. We both want a small, intimate wedding with family and close friends. Here comes the problem. A little background. I stopped talking to my biological dad when I was 17 and haven't seen my dad since my son's Demeter's first birthday. We don't wish each other happy holidays or birthdays. When I was little, he used to make fun of me and put me down, asking me why I couldn't be more like my older brother 24 meters, and when I tried I got yelled at for copying him. If I cried for any reason, he would send me to my room until I cried myself to sleep. When my younger brother was born 8 meters, he would use him to guilt me into seeing him. I would be used as a babysitter so they could go out and not bring me with. When I was around 2, there was a case open about SA regarding my dad, but nothing was found all around me, and my dad never had a great relationship, and me and my stepmoms weren't any better. They constantly accused me of having an ed and would force feed me junk food to the point I would vomit and use that as proof I did develop an ed when I was 16, because they would call me fat and compare me to my female cousins. I could go on, but this is getting pretty long. My BF is adopted but has a great relationship with his parents. When talking about who we would invite, I mentioned the obvious: my mom, brothers, and a couple close friends. My older brother asked who was going to walk me down the aisle, and I said my mom. He flipped out and said it wasn't tradition for a mom to walk the daughter down the aisle, and it's unfair to my dad as I'm his only daughter. My BF knows everything regarding my dad and is on my side with not inviting him, but my family is split. My mom is with me as well as my stepdad and my aunts, but my older brother and a few others say I'm a bitch for not inviting my dad to his only daughter's wedding, so widda for not inviting my dad to my future wedding. Stories number 14. I realized I just had the perfect weekend. I was telling a co-worker about my weekend and jokingly said it was a 10/10. Then it dawned on me it really was Saturday. Hubby needed a haircut, so he dropped me off at the nail salon for a pedicure. I enjoyed the extra pampering. Afterwards we picked up our mail, eat lunch together, and stopped for groceries. After getting home and putting away groceries, we got our little dog and headed to the dog park. The temperature was 68 degrees, and it was just a beautiful starting to feel like fall day. Once back home, we DoorDashed dinner and watched some 1990s movies. Sunday, I met a new friend for brunch, and afterwards we hit a thrift store where I managed to come home with a few scores. Back home, we ate junk food and watched more movies. Hubby hung up several of my thrifted goodies. It was a nothing weekend for us, but it was perfect and somehow magical in the simplicity of it. Thank you for letting me share. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my dad to fix his wife. I 16F have never liked my stepmom Mia because of the way she would act when I was over. She is stuck up, selfish. When I come over, it's funny because I never did anything for her to be this hateful. I don't come over my dad's much because of him and his wife. She would do things out of spite, and my dad would stay quiet and let her talk to me anyway. Imagine that, letting a stranger treat your child like garbage. My dad wouldn't defend me, so I started to get detached from him. Didn't want anything to do with him because I never felt wanted. But he will never get a call from me again. He doesn't care about me, and that's fine. When I have kids, he can't see them or me. The reason why I have to stay with my dad right now is because my mom is in the hospital. I didn't have any immediate family to stay with, so my dad was the last resort. Here comes the problem. Last week, Mia convinced my dad to take off my door to my room because I didn't want to wash up the dishes. Mind you, I clean up the most, but I should stop, so I sleep with no door. It's ridiculous because she isn't my mom, and my dad doesn't do a thing. He listens to everything his wife says. Since I had no door, my half-siblings would come in there bothering me to play with them, digging in my things. I was pissed because I had no privacy and no respect. Here comes the problem. My half-sister 6 spilled her juice on my laptop. My laptop was on the floor charging because I don't have long extension cord. Yes, I was frustrated, so I yelled at her, Mia, and my dad came upstairs to see what I yelling about. When I told her the damage, she told me it was my fault, so don't her daughter, no apology or nothing. I was in one spot with everyone blaming me. I told my dad to fix his wife because he literally stood there and said nothing, but he looked like I hurt him. Aita. Stories number 16. Just realized my mom is not as good as I think. I was watching Netflix series made recently in the scene when her husband throw a glass and a piece of glass found in the kid hair it. Remind me when my dad punched me in the face. I have glasses and it broke small piece of glass stuck in my nose bridge all this time I never think it through. I know he beating me was bad, but seeing what my mom's supposed to do, I just realized it wasn't they good either. She shield me after that punch, said stop hitting her daughter in my head. Until this time it was the best she can do. She is a good mom and I love her. But watching that series make me realize she could have left. She could bring me to the hospital. I know my dad was abusive, but he stopped hitting me after middle school. I make peace with it. I think I'm growing up without issues. I don't think I'm traumatized. I still have a lot of good memories with him. I have no contact with him due to different reason. But after watching the series, I will randomly reminded about the past and start crying. But it's not about my dad, about how my mom handle it. I realized she didn't love me as much as I think she did. She have a choice and she choose my dad. She still choose my dad. I asked her to live with me and my husband in other country, but she said she only will come if my dad come. I just want to rant. I know I need therapy. Just sad that realization. After all this time, she still choose my dad. Before watching the series, I thought she loved me a lot. Stories number 17. Aita for breaking up with my BF because he forgot me at the airport. Advice needed. I 28F have been in a long-distance relationship for about 5 months with Eric M. 28 fake name. He lives in a town that either takes 12 hours to drive to 7 hours by train or an hour flight. Valentine's Day was coming up, so I bought a flight to go see him so we could spend a week together and celebrate together. When I got up in the morning, I started sending him snaps of me getting to the airport and about being exited to see him. When I got to the airport, I messaged him that I would see him in a bit, but there was no reply. This is when my gut feelings started telling me something was off, but I pushed it away, hoping that I was just overreacting. When I landed, I messaged him that I would see him soon, but to no reply. I was still hoping so hard. When the arrival's door opened, I was so hopeful that he was there, but in the end I was heartbroken to see he wasn't. I felt so undervalued and embarrassed because I started crying in a corner of the airport. I had only come to this city to see him and I was staying with him, so what was I gonna do? I called him over and over to no reply, then decided fuck him, I'm gonna go do my own thing. I ended up at a pub drinking tea, and after about an hour there he messaged me, not called but sent me a damn message. His excuse was that he had fallen asleep and that he was sorry. I honestly felt so betrayed because how can I not be worth setting a damn alarm? In the end I ended up staying with him because I couldn't afford a hotel or to change my flight. And that's when I found out that he was staying up at night playing video games. When I got home I decided that I couldn't be with someone who undervalues me so much and broke up with him. At the time he agreed, but now Hayes sent me a love letter declaring his love, and that Hayes sorry for everything and doesn't want to lose me. I feel like I'm overthinking things and just need some advice. Did I overreact to him not picking me up at the airport? Aita for breaking up with my BF because he forgot me at the airport. Edit to clarify. We made these plans together 2 months before I left. He was well aware of when and where I was arriving, and he was the one who offered to come get me. Secondly, I posted here about this now because I just received the love letter today. Stories number 18. Aita for refusing to move out even though my roommate is 7 months pregnant. Hi guys, last week my roommate Becca found out she is not only pregnant but 7 months along. She texted me that we had to talk today and I had assumed she would be moving out soon for more space when the baby comes. Instead she told me I have to move out to make space for the nursery and her baby daddy to move in. I'm on a terrible salary and cannot afford anywhere else to live. Plus, like, she wants me to move out right now so she can prepare for the baby even if I wanted to move out now. The apartment rentals in my area are either too expensive or well below living standards, so I don't want to move. She went absolutely crazy the moment I told her I wouldn't move out. Because I'm ruining her motherhood experience by not letting her family live together. I pay rent here. And my name's on the lease until at least the end of the year. I'm not gonna pull out of the lease, and I told her that if she wants her little family together that she should move and I'll find someone to half the cheap rent with. That made her start crying and saying how I just want to ruin her life to the point her baby daddy had to console her and tell me to get out of their way. Already have not heard her stop crying since, but I think I'm totally valid that I don't want to leave. Aita for not wanting to move out. Stories number 19. Aita for expecting my partner to have some spending money on our holiday. I 31F and my boyfriend 31 meters are going to Italy next month. I paid $3,000 for our flights and hotel, and have been saving up to take about $2,000, $2,500 as spending money. As I have a second job, it's easier for me to save up, and I did say I would cover most of it, but as I paid for us to go including visas and insurance, I thought he would also take some money with him too. We booked the holiday in March this year, and we have had discussions on him taking money as well. He said he wanted to have some money, so I'm not paying for everything, whilst there his mention taking a loan out, borrowing money from family, etc. hasn't been putting any money away since we have booked it. And yesterday he mentioned that he was gonna ask his mom for some money. Today he needed gas money and asked if there was cash in the house. I told him there was and mentioned it was our illy spending fund. He then asked if he should bring some money with him, and I said yeah, thinking it was weird he was asking after he told me he was going to get money the day before. After I agreed he should bring some money, he blew up after that, telling me I have completely changed my tone and fucked him as we're going on holiday in a month. I didn't think I did, as I was under the belief that he would be bringing funds with him too, not as much as I am, but just something to contribute with. Am I the asshole for thinking that? Side note, we have been together 11 years, and this isn't the first time I've covered our spending money for our holiday. I also pay most of the bills, whilst he pays the rent. The second job is only part-time, and after tax I only get an extra couple of $100, so there's not a huge difference between our monthly pay. Stories number 20. AIO for leaving my wife in another country with her colleagues. Trigger warning. Mentions of self-harm. At 35 meters, I am currently in another continent with my wife for her work trip. This was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime trip, coming after some major mental health setbacks for myself. Self-harm. Both of us have been over the moon for this trip for months. For me, it's a vacation to somewhere I will likely never go again, and had to just pay my airfare. My wife 37F is here for a work conference that started today 9/10. Yesterday 9/9 we went to a winery with her boss and had a great time. We were all laughing and having fun. We ended up staying all day at the winery and got back to the hotel at around 9 p.m. Once we got into the room, she unleashed on me about how I embarrassed her, talked her down, and insulted her. Honestly, I thought her boss and I hit it off great, and I was talking her up a lot. This argument turned into her getting louder, and I tried to just say my part, but she would just scream over me. Finally, she started to hit me in the face and arms, as well as push me down. For reference, I am 6'2", 130 pounds, and she is 5 feet for 175 pounds. I did not defend myself. I just let her wail on me, and she would stop, tell more, hit me more, and yell at me to fight her. I grew up with women. I was raised to not fight back. I know I could easily overpower her, but I don't want to fight my wife. I was honestly shocked she hit me. She has thrown things at me before, like her phone, but never hit me. She continued to hit me, and I sat down to try and just cover myself. She came up to me and headbutted me, leaving a mark. I told her I wanted a divorce because clearly we are not compatible, and we keep having this same fight no matter what I do. I even tried to defend myself because I had been in a mental hospital and a patient for SH and was really struggling with being back in the public. She took that as me not recognizing how my SH had impacted her and completely glossed over anything I had to say. We fought until she had to leave at 7:45 a.m. Not sleeping at all this morning, she continued to argue. And I finally called my mom, who luckily picked up since it's 3 a.m. her time and just crashed on the phone. I told her everything. I'm not perfect. I told her about what I had said and done. My mom told me she was glad I finally wanted a divorce. Apparently her and my oldest sister experienced my wife's wrath when I went into the hospital and were worried for my safety. After talking to my mom, I realized I can't stay here and booked a return flight for myself a week early. My wife had continued to blow up my phone, also spouting how she hates my family because we are close-knit. Seriously, she was mad that we spend so much time together is weird, and basically forced herself to be an outsider by being an asshole. I told her via text while on the phone with my mom, and she flipped out. All of a sudden, she is now texting, apologizing, asking me to stay, while also going on how I have ruined this trip and this conference for her. I did not hit her. I did not physically defend myself. Even when I thought she was finally calming down, she spun back around and came at me again. She attacked me 3 to 4 times through the night. I'm sorry, this is rambly. I'm literally on zero sleep and freaking out that I need to fly 20 hours home alone. Because my wife attacked me, I can't go home. I miss my dogs and know that I will likely never see them again. I can't take them with me. She loves them as much as I do, so I know they will be fine. Am I outrageous for leaving her in another country after she attacked me? Did I do the right thing? I still feel sick to my stomach and just want to go support her. But I know she will just use it to manipulate me back into staying. I can't live like this anymore. Stories number 21. Aita for ruining my father's 3rd wedding. I hope that you can solve a 30-plus-year-old issue that is brought up at any family gathering. I 50-plus attended my father's 3rd wedding when I was 16. Before I continue, here is some background information to set the stage. I lived with my mother and stepfather at the time, and had only just begun to visit with my father again every other weekend. About a year before, I had not seen him nor been part of his life for several years. He had divorced his 2nd wife, who had abused me physically, mentally, and emotionally. My half-siblings were in foster care, and I had known this woman for about a year. I liked her, but I had also liked my dad's 2nd wife, and she turned into a monster that threw me out of their house on a visitation when I had just turned 12, so I was very guarded about this relationship, and while I liked her, I was always waiting for her to turn out like my last stepmother. She was very understanding and included me in many of the planning, and especially in choosing my dress for the wedding. I was very excited, and on the day of the wedding I was very positive and looked forward to their marriage. Now I don't smile very much in pictures or even like being in pictures, which they knew because I have a port wine stain on my face. I tried my very best to smile through all the required professional photos, and by the 3rd hour of the reception I was done smiling for pictures. I told them that I was going to take some time to refresh in my room with some friends, and I would come back. The reception was at my father's house, and most of the people had started to leave. By the time I took a break, I had been in my room for about 15 to 20 minutes when the videographer knocked on the door and told me to say a few words to my parents on their wedding. I opened the door to the man with a camera on his shoulder, pointing it right at me, filming me. I slammed the door in his face and told him to stop recording. I reopened the door and apologized to him and asked him to give me a few minutes as I don't like being recorded. When he returned, I said I didn't want to and to please go on to the next person. He then started to record me and told me that I should, and then followed me out of my room to the bathroom, where I slammed the door in his face. Next thing I know, my father bangs on the door and tells me that I needed to, and that was that. I just stood there crying, and the whole time the guy was filming. Ever since then, my stepmother reminds me how I ruined her wedding and how rude I was. I have apologized many times to her and even offered to have my part of their wedding video spliced out by a professional. She never took me up on my offer and has never forgiven me. She shows everyone who comes over when I am there how I didn't smile big enough in the wedding photos and that it ruins her memory of their wedding 30 years later. She made sure to remind me of this on the last visit that I had with them in front of my children. I no longer speak with them due to their choices. They are both alcoholics. And my father was very physically abusive to me in life and to protect my children. Aita, for not smiling enough and not wanting to say something on the video to them. Update. Thank you all for your comments. Many of them have made me giggle and many have confirmed that I made the right decision for years ago. I went no physical contact in 2017 and completely no contact in 2020. Yes, they are still married and eventually they got custody of my half-siblings' children from Dad's second marriage. There were none from his third, while they have come and gone in the years since. It took a long time for me to see how toxic the relationship was. The final straw was when my dad did nothing to help or protect me and the kids when I told him I left my abusive husband. So why ask now? I recently found an old journal while cleaning out a storage shed, and couldn't believe how long this had been going on. When they first meet my ex, guess what she brought up? Yup, the pictures at my wedding reception. Anytime someone took a picture, they make loud comments about how I could now smile and how awful it was that I didn't do that for them in the family wedding pictures from my wedding with just them. And then the entire family. My stepmom scowled in every one of them. Some of you asked about my mom. My mom was abused by my dad. He found his second wife 6 months before leaving my mom, claiming that he could no longer love us since my mom hadn't given him a boy. My mom cut him off. All unnecessary communication. Once she remarried, my mom would go on to marry an amazing and gentle man. I am thankful every day for him and miss him greatly as he has passed away since.